Hi, we are ready with the first knowledge spark by Arctube. I'm sure that this spark is going to stimulate your knowledge paths. Let's see what it is.
Thanks for joining our first knowledge spark. In today's video, we are trying to understand digital. In fact, we are trying to understand digital correctly. Understanding digital correctly is very important today, and also it's very important in the future. But predicting the future, what it's going to be, is quite difficult. How the world is going to be in 2030, it's difficult to predict. But there are certain organizations, there are certain research institutions who are using scientific methods, different ways to predict the future, how it is going to be look like in 2030, for example. Now, digital will be more applicable in the future than today. So it's very important that we have a basic understanding of the future, especially in another 10 years' time, how is the world going to be, to understand digital correctly. Now, if you look at the world in 2030, according to Euromonitor International, there will be 8.4 billion people on planet Earth. That's a lot of people. And then these people will be having an average age of 34 years. The global average population will have an age of 34 years. So that means the world is getting young in a way. And if you look at how these people are going to live, we see 60% of them are going to live in urban areas. That means people are trying to move to urban areas, and that's going to increase as we go forward. And 54% of them will live in Asia Pacific. You already know India and China will have large population bases in Asia Pacific. And 480 million people will choose to live as single person households. So that's also a remarkable finding. And the global GDP will be 147 trillion US dollars by 2030. And that will result a global per capita income of US dollars 13,620. Together with that, there will be 10.1 billion mobile subscriptions by 2030, another 10 years' time. And there will be 4.8 billion internet users on planet Earth. Now, this is at very high level, very macro level, the world, how the world is going to be in 2030. It's very important that we understand the context. To clearly understand digital, we need to understand at very high level, macro level, how is the world going to be in another 10 years' time. Because digital will be more applicable in the future than today. And another interesting finding is that 80% of the jobs that today's learners will be doing in 2030 haven't been invented yet. Now, this is from a separate finding. It was 65% few years back, but recently it was increased to 85%. That also shows that what we learn today and what we are going to practice in another 10 years' time, there is a very big difference between what we study and what we are going to apply as part of our jobs. So in that aspect also, it's very important that we understand digital correctly, because digital is going to play a very important role in our today's jobs as well as the jobs that we are going to do in the future. On a different aspect, if you really look at the frequency and the impact of disruption in the coming decade, we can sort of plot that in a graph. If you look at the impact versus time, you see the traditional or the historical way of the disruptions happen around us is having a sinusoidal wave like this, with low amplitude, the low height, which actually represents the impact, and also the low frequency. But if you really look at the disruptions or the changes that is mainly fueled by digital technologies going to deliver in the next decade, we see the impact is quite high, meaning that the sinusoidal curve will have high amplitude, and also the frequency is high compared to the historical curve. So this is the type of expectation that we will have to see in the future, and we are going to experience in the future. So in this angle also, it is very important that we understand the sort of disruptions that digital will create in our lives and the lives around us going forward. Now with that, let's look at what digital really means. Now digital is an English word. So if you really want to find a meaning of a word, the place that you go and check is actually the internet. Now if you look at the meaning of digital on the internet, what it says according to the dictionary is it's of a signal or a data expressed as a series of ones and zeros. So this is binary data, ones and zeros, all the data and information represented as binaries. And the application of digital in the English language is examples like digital TV, digital recording, digital revolution, everything that has to do something with the application of digits, basically the binary format of data in ones and zeros format. But if you really want to look further and see what it is the real meaning of digital, what are the origins of meaning, you have to go back to 15th century. If you really look at the word digitalis or digitus in Latin, that really means the finger or the toe. Now it is really a coincidence if you take today's devices, especially the devices like mobile phones and the devices which are having touch screens, we actually consume most of the digital applications and digital services using touch screen, like for example in the mobile. So it is really a coincidence that the meaning, the real meaning which comes from Latin origins in the 15th century is actually have something to do with the finger. In fact, we use fingers in today's most of the digital consumption of information and data. If you really take the classic examples of how analog world changed to digital world, you will see, for example, you have different ways of measuring voltages and currents using meters, ammeters and voltage meters. But later they were changed to digital meters where you actually don't see an arm moving, but you see digits on the display. Same for the wristwatch. The wristwatch with arms now has been replaced with digital display watches. And if you take another example, you see the film industry, or rather the photo industry, you see the camera reels have been replaced with high capacity storage devices like chips and SD cards. And also reading has changed a lot over the years, where people used to read on paper are now reading on digital displays like tabs, laptops and mobile phones. And the music industry is also changed with digital, where we used to have analog type of disc for the gramophone era. We see now it's being replaced with CDs and DVDs and Blu-rays. So this is what we normally see as digital, the change of the things that we have been used in the past in analog form, today being used in digital format. But digital actually has a different meaning today than those conventional meanings that you find on the dictionary and also you find in the classic examples. Now one of the things that digital actually works hand in hand is data. Now without data there is nothing called digital, and without digital there is nothing called data. Now it is also said that data is the new oil in the world for very specific reasons. Now to understand digital correctly, now you already know the meaning of digital and the surface level understanding or the normal understanding in the society, the word digital and its application. But to understand, or rather to drill down to get the correct understanding, the correct meaning of digital, we need to go further. And in this series of videos, in the future Sparks, we are going to actually drill down to these specific areas. But for the time being, I'm going to share with you the high level overview of digital in a more advanced perspective. Now, digital, if you really take its application in the society, you have to drill it down, or rather you have to break it down into three pieces. One is digitization, the other one is digitalization, the other one is the digital transformation. Now, digitization is actually converting the conventional data, analog data or any other data to a format that a computer can be fed with and a computer can understand. And digitalization is actually the process that we use to use the digitized data. And finally, you get into the digital transformation. And if you really look at what's going digital today and what's going digital tomorrow, that includes societies, industries, individuals, economies, countries, and businesses. Now, in our future videos, we are going to look at these things very deeply, how the countries are using digital to transform themselves, how businesses are using digital to transform, and how economies are being transformed using digital, industries, societies, and individuals, and how digitalization, and digital transformation is applied in these scenarios. So, with the hope of meeting you in the future video, time to say goodbye in the first knowledge spark of understanding what is digital. Thank you.
Active will come to you with Knowledge Spark 2 in the near future. At the same time, subscribe us on YouTube and share this video among your network. See you and ready to be excited with the Knowledge Spark 2 by Active.